Hello everyone, and welcome to Inner Secrets Revealed, Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil Tivon. As always, I'm your host from Metaphysical Sciences TV, Mike Ray. Welcome and thanks to everyone who is just joining us for the latest installment in this series of part class, part podcast interactive videos, which we call Podclasses. Look out for updates on the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. Just a reminder for everyone who is just joining us again, or for everyone who is joining us for the first time, if you guys want to go back and watch previous episodes and rewind, we will be uploading all of our new videos in addition to the replays from our Podclasses on the Metaphysical Sciences TV YouTube web channel, where you can find all that and more, as well as get notifications for new classes and new videos. So whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, Riverside, or a new app, which hopefully will be up and running within the next couple of months, we're running into a couple snags with that, or whether you're catching us later and listening to this or watching the replay, thank you all for joining us. Just a quick reminder now, as always, the outline for this podcast. First, we'll be having the lecture portion of the podcast, and then we will be opening things up to discussion and take questions during the interactive portion of the class towards the end. If you guys could please be so kind as to keep yourselves on mute until the interactive portion of the class, we'd greatly appreciate it, so that we could keep an organized environment for teaching and learning from one another, and so everyone can have a chance to be heard. We thank you in advance, and if you do have any questions or comments during the lecture portion, please feel free to write them down in the group chat, or you can send them to either myself or Dr. Gil Tivon through the chat or through Messenger. And if you want to remain anonymous and ask a question, that is completely acceptable. Announcements before we begin. We will be having the new weekly Monday Podclasses, with topics ranging from any and all things you could think of that are related to metaphysics that we could apply to our lives, including meditation, natural cures, holistic medicine, nutrition, dietary laws, relationships, coping skills, and more details will be announced soon. On Tuesday, we will also be having another new podcast with more details to follow shortly. And then there is, of course, the return of my Mental Health, Spirituality, and Metaphysics Talk podcast, which will be every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, more details to be announced soon. So look out for updates on the Mental Health, Spirituality, Mysticism, and Metaphysics Facebook group. Again, we will be uploading all of our new videos in addition to the replays from Podclasses on the Metaphysical Sciences TV YouTube web channel. And this means that you can now watch and catch all of these Podclasses from the beginning and watch it all the way through to the end. And you could also click the notification bell on YouTube to get notifications for when new videos are going to premiere or when videos are uploaded. We also have another big announcement to make, which is that Dr. Gil Tivon has a book that was just recently published, and it is being translated into English as we speak, and it is truly a gift to the world. And I would just like to take this time to thank Dr. Gil Tivon for writing this book. Anyone who really wants to dive deeper into this, you could either contact Dr. Gil Tivon, or you could check out his book. And without further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Dr. Gil. Here is the cover of his book called Kabbalah and Etz Chaim, Wheels of the Tree of Life. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the man of the hour. Let's give him the power. Dr. Gil Tivon, everybody. Dr.
Hi,
Gil.
good evening to you all, and thank you so much, Mike, for the introduction and for seeing some familiar faces as well as new ones, which is always great. So I was asked, and I will straight away apply what I was asked for these lectures to be very practical and more practical, so that each one can actually utilize it in his life, and not what you might think that would be on the theoretical side, but rather very practical. So I'm going to start with you because we are going to speak today about the Sefirah of Strength of Gevurah. So I will just give you an introduction to Kabbalah in general. What are we doing here? What is it actually all about? So let's leave aside for a second Kabbalah and speak about most human beings. Again, I'm not judging anyone. We're speaking about what Kabbalah has to say about all of us to start with, and that includes me and you and all religions, genders, ages, in all times, till our very day and age today. The first level that any human being is being born at is a level where he's looking to receive. He's come to the world, as a baby is born, the first thing they do is cry because they're looking for nourishment, which is very obvious. So our first level in life is we want to receive, and we love those who give us most. In the Hebrew, a kelev, which is a dog, right, is by virtue of his essences and name, means he's completely hard, which means he's going to be completely protective of his territory and of his owners, because he understands that this is the hand that feeds me, I have to protect it. So in nature, we are all created as receiving human beings. And this is for a very good reason, Kabbalistically, because if I show a flat tray, there is no way that this flat tray can accept and receive into it any kind of content which is going to pour away, like liquid. So it has to be a vessel that can contain and be inclusive of other things. So our soul was created in such a way by God that we want to be on the receiving end, but we just got mixed up with time. We want to be on the receiving end, it was to spirituality. However, most of us have forgotten this over the ages and where we were born in a society and traditions and culture and customs, and we want to receive all in all together. And therefore, most people, according to the fifth commandment, will love our mother more than our father, because mothers usually give endless love, whereas daddies usually give conditional love. If you'll do this, you'll get a pen. If you'll do this, you'll get, if you really finish well and strong, you'll get from me a nice new bike. And if you really finish very well and strong the entire elementary school, or graduate nicely from the high school or college, you're going to get a trip to where it is, to Europe, or wherever it is that you want to go. So the first level is called receiving, in order to receive more. And the more we receive, the more we want. Therefore, for example, when it comes to money, everyone is after the money, whether people are in the survival mode, which is 85% of the world, or whether it's people that they want more. One of my clients, that is a young genius, he graduated from Harvard, he's a doctor of law, and he opened himself a startup kind of company. At the age of 29, he has $15 million. That's real. Names are with me, of course, it's confidential. So in my naivety, a few years back when I met him, I told him, my dear friend, maybe you should retire. So he looked at me as if I don't understand anything. He said, no, my friend, I don't want to retire. I want to conquer America. The more you have, the more you want. And this is known, and let me write it into the chat if I can find it anywhere. Here it is. And this is why the Hebrew word for this is called, and with catalog is this, which is mammon. Mammon is the Hebrew word for money. And in English, and many priests speak about it as well, Christian priests speak about it as well, we know that there's a certain kind of a demon called mammon, which means every letter there in the Hebrew is a double letter, meaning the mem in the Hebrew is a mem. It's an M-E-M. Mem is another M-E-M. The nun at the end is N-U-N. All letters are double, meaning that anything that you have, you want double. The more you have, the more you want. So if I ask you, if you earn $5,000 a month or $100,000 a month, who is poorer? You tell me, obviously, the one who gains and who earns $5,000 a month. But that's not true. Kabbalistically, the one who earns $100,000 a month is hungry for more than $100,000. So he's missing the next one because he got used to a very high level standard of life. There's nothing wrong with that of wanting more. The challenge is that that's the only thing you want. More money, more material, and you don't leave time for family, for human relations, for spirituality, for proper emotions, etc. So the first level that we are born in is self-centered, selfish, and we want more. As we grow, God is in infinite wisdom has devised a system that in order for us to be able to live, we need to go to college, we need to earn a salary, so we go to work, whether before college or after. And the reason we go to work for most people is not because they want to serve society, because I need the cash, I need the money, I need to go around, I need to pay the bills, I need to pay mortgage, I need to get a car. That's the reason why. So the reason why we go to work for most people is because we want to receive, we want to give something to society, but that's not the real reason. The real reason is because we want to be able to receive something every 2 weeks or the end of the month, which is called a nice fat paycheck. So the second level, which God has forced us to do, is to go out of our way, instead of spending time the whole day playing, all kind of video games or in front of Netflix. We have to be forced to spend most of the wonderful vacational time every day and waste it, I'm being cynical, going to work, because people need the cash, they need the money, but they don't want to serve. The reason why people do it, because they want to get the salary in order to facilitate more pleasures, more able to run this marathon of life and go to H&M and Zara and trade and wherever people buy the stuff today, etc., as you know better than me. And to have everything that all the ads show us day and night and the social media pump us down us, we want that. So again, the first level, we are born very self-centered. We want to just be able to receive. The second level, we are forced by nature of this world to go out to work. And the whole purpose of going to work is we are bored at work after a short time. We want to be able to gain more finances in order to enjoy life more. So we go out to give in order to really receive. Both reasons are okay. Nothing is wrong with that, just that we spiritually have not developed yet at all. This is not what we came to this world for. We didn't come to this world for that. And by the way, if you look at the animal world, that's what the animals do. The animals just pray for their own hunt because they want to have a nice, delicious dinner. And the lion will say thank you to the zebra when he devours and he has no remorse, because there is no free choice over this. So most of nature is running around its own tail, trying to be able to receive. The next level is people that are monks, or people that want to go on a fast for religious reasons or for spiritual cleansiness. When we go on a fast, or when we go on vipassana, which means we don't speak for a day or so, what we're doing is we're pushing away all physical pleasures. People don't cohabit, people don't wear leather shoes, people don't eat, people don't drink. They want to cleanse themselves, and this is what we call we giving back in order to give. This is the fourth level. We monks, most of the monks around the world came to the conclusion that in order to become spiritual, like a Dalai Lama and others, and again, there is no condescending and no cynicism and no criticism about anyone. I'm just describing to you a situation that's been around for thousands of years, since days immemorial of human beings walking this earth. So the third level is monks, or people of that nature that want to abstain of any kind of physical pleasures and not knowing how to do it otherwise. They cut off and reject this entire world completely. They go in the Himalayas, or they abstain from getting married and having children, which is definitely part of Christianity as well. And if you go and visit the Vatican, and the reason being that we cannot come to an agreement and balance and cannot have physical relationships or too much of this world, because it's going to devour and swallow us up, and therefore we need to abstain from it completely, which is the third level of Kabbalah, which means We are giving in order to give. We're not allowed to be receiving, because if I'm receiving, I'm going to fall. I'm going to fail. If we remember, those of us that remember the movie The Matrix, the first Matrix, this is exactly what happened. Descent from the sky, back, only the soul. The body did not come back, because the idea is a misnomer. The idea is a misconception of the fact that we cannot live in this world and create a balance between physical and spiritual, and therefore we should reject completely the body and physical pleasures and materialism just to live a spiritual life. And the monks around this world today are everywhere around this world, and they seem to be very happy with themselves. Only one problem: they don't procreate. They don't generate the next generation of themselves, because they don't marry, they abstain from wine, and many other things. Some of these practices are great. Some of them create great self-discipline, and others do not create the next generation, because these people are very frightened. And again, what I'm saying is humbly respectful, don't get me wrong, because they don't know to create the right balance between giving and receiving. However, this is definitely not the highest level of Kabbalah. The highest level of Kabbalah, and again, Kabbalah means that tradition that we received, that was God given to us, that is divine, that was handed to us by God, by divine angels, that we know archangels, that we know for thousands of years that works. The highest level is as follows, is that we understand that we have to receive, but in order to serve. In other words, I need to go to sleep during the night. I'm translating to you to the most basic things we do every day. I need to sleep my 7-8 hours. If I don't, I won't be able to operate through the entire day, and I will doze off and be aggravated and agitated because I didn't get enough sleep. So sleep is what the body physically needs and emotionally to digest, to nourish itself in order to be able to cope. I need to be able to eat. I need to go to work. But the question is, why do I go to work? Am I going to work because I just want the money and I couldn't care less about the business that can burn behind me? Or my real purpose, it's all a question of my intention, my mindfulness. My real purpose is I'm going to serve. And by the way, I will get a nice paycheck. Big, small, makes no difference. And this is what makes a big difference between great people and people that have not as yet started to develop spiritually. Great people do the same thing as us, as normal people. They just change the mindset. They really want to save humanity. They really want to save society. They spend time, quality time, when the spouse asks them, please tell me about today, I want to share with you my day. They sit quietly, they put aside the social media and they speak. They don't go through the iPhone and they page through, right, bored to listen to their wives or husbands or children, because it is of importance to respect and to give precedence to somebody else, to recognize, to acknowledge that they are alive as well, that they are meaningful, that we should be able to give. Now, let's look at nature in a different way. Let's observe nature in a new way. If you look at trees gives flowers, beautiful smell. Many trees give fruits. Those trees don't ask back for anything. Yes, they get the sun. Yes, they get nourishment from the ground and from the water. But the whole essence and purpose of the tree is to give over its beautiful smell through flowers or its beautiful fruits for us to eat. It's not on the giving end. It's all about giving, not about receiving. Let's look at the sun. Who is greater than the sun that gives us life, nourishment, warmth, nutrients? It's the center of our solar system. Tell me, if you can, I'll give you $1 million, you can prove to me that the sun is receiving anything from us. Yeah, we can praise it, but it doesn't do anything. This is the reason why in many traditions till today, like in India, right, which is close to 1 billion people worship the sun, because they find that the sun is only giving, so mistakenly they thought this is God. In the Hebrew, we call the sun, right? I'm especially writing it in this way, so if somebody understands Hebrew, don't think I'm mistaken because I speak it fluently. We call it in the Hebrew Shemesh or Shamash, which means it's just a servant. It's just a servant. It comes as an analogy for us to understand and grasp what is God. He's got nothing to do with being on the receiving end. He needs nothing from us, nothing at all. He doesn't need my prayers. He doesn't need my confession. He doesn't need me to speak to him. You need him. You need to confess. You need to pray. You need to get yourself geared up to motivation. You need money. But God is behaving like a fatherly image and listens to our prayer and receives what we ask because he wants the connection. Again, the connection is for me. If he has one more person, one less person, it makes no difference to him. It makes a difference to me, like a father has many kids. Every kid is a gem. Every kid is a privilege. But more than the father needs the child needs the parental relation. And oh boy, what happens to children who did not get enough motherly or fatherly love and parental guidance, and then these are kids who are really neglected or crushed during their life. Let's summarize. There are 4 steps in life that we can now, I'm giving you glasses, new lenses in which you look at every person, not to criticize them, to see yourself, to observe yourself, and be able to see others and say, where is that person holding on the spiritual development, elevation in this world? The first level, a person who is completely selfish and self-centered, only thinking about himself. It doesn't mean that it's his end point. It means that that's who he's holding now, maybe because of young age, maybe because of immaturity. It's got nothing to do with age. You basically be 95 years old in hospice and still only in the first stage. There's a second level, which is I am going to work, I'm going to stay, but my only mindset is I'm out there just to be able to receive back. Most of the people that go to college and go to work, I don't have any intention to save. I really just need to survive the survival mode. And statistics show this is more than 85% of the world. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Just understand it's on the go. It's a station. It's not the final destination. The third level is I want to abstain completely from the physical. I cannot. Because if I have anything in physical relationship, too much food, wine, etc., company too much, I'm going to really divulge into this world. It's going to throw me down, and I'm not going to become spiritual. Therefore, abstinence, like all the monks in the world, which is a higher level, but it's disengagement from this real world. The highest level is a level where we come to understand I need to be able to receive. If I don't sleep, if I don't eat, if I don't wear proper clothes, if I don't marry, if I don't have children, I'm not part of this world, and I need love, I need faith, I need trust, I need a sense of belonging, I need food, I need all of this, physically, emotionally, materially, spiritually, and mentally. But after I receive that, what do I do with it? What can I give back as a sense of gratitude and acknowledgement to God, to society, to the people who love me, to the people who pay attention that I exist? When am I going to turn around and give back? Some people are born like this because they're already an old reincarnation. You see young children that are old souls, that are all about giving to others. And you see people that are grown up during the ages and start to be on the giving end for the real purpose. And I will summarize this first section of tonight with a very beautiful story that happened a few decades back, which I took very much to heart. In Russia, in a city called Radin, lived a very great spiritual mentor. His name was Maestral from Radin. He was a spiritual mentor for many thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. Happened to live there. Everybody knew him by his picture, knew him by his presence. And he walks one day into the pharmacy. It's a real story. The pharmacist is as far away from spirituality and anything else. And this great spiritual leader telling him, I really envy you. He says, you envy me. Everybody knows you. You're a great spiritual leader. I envy you. There's nothing to envy in me. He said, look, I do. You stand here as a pharmacist, as a professional pharmacist, and you serve people the whole day. You prepare for them concoctions which are real medication. You save so many lives. He said, no. Let me tell you the real deal. Come to the other side of my cash. What I do is I cash up. This is packed with cash the whole day. I don't care about my patients. I don't care about anything. For me, it's objects. I don't know if their name is John, Jane. Who cares? I just make money. So the spiritual leader told him, I'm very sorry to say, you are completely mistaken. Let me change your perspective. Money comes anyhow because you're only one in a radius of about 50 miles. So money, you're going to be rich anyhow. But why can't you change your perspective and think, I'm doing incredible kindness with people. I'm here to receive the cash in order to serve the public with my great knowledge as a very well-experienced pharmacist. This went into him and he changed completely and said, wherever you are, I want to be your student. I want to learn this new way. I will carry on doing the same thing. I will carry on being married, carry on being a father, carry on going to work. Same hours, but my mindset is it's all about giving. Therefore, his face shines. From being bitter, becomes better. From being a servant to his own pockets, he becomes somebody who serves society. From being somebody who's very self-centered, he doesn't see any people just as objects, he suddenly becomes a very giving person. And I'm sure each of us know people like this who walk this earth, only in our generation, some of them have passed away, unfortunately, the late, that have really served people at the highest level, being many times with no money at all, just because they realize this very simple shift. And this applies to every one of you, and every one of us can now understand and observe and contemplate, where am I holding on the spiritual scale of my growth? Take a deep breath. Let's go to the major section of today on the menu, which I'm going to order for you, and that will be the Sefirah of Strength. Why did I choose to bring everything I said in the introductory way till now? Because the Sefirah of Strength is on the left. Mike, maybe you can show us the Tree of Life. Thank you so much. Is on the left pillar, top left pillar, right in that box, which represents all our feelings, all our human interactions. It's very much on the left side of the Sefirah. Why is it on the left? Because the left side represents receiving. It represents passiveness. It represents femininity, being on the receiving end. So if we look at it in a very close, limited way, thank you, Mike, then we will come to, there, up there on the left, right, middle left, right? So that's triad on the left. That will be called Gevurah, or judgment, or strength, that we have on the left. Meaning, when you look at it, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, where the right side is facing the mirror, it's on the right. Left side is facing the mirror on your left. And it's on the left because it means I'm here to receive. Which means, if I take this Sefirah, this prism, to the extreme, people come to kill. People come to steal. People come to take and possess other people's possessions because they're too lazy, or they're too greedy, or too inactive to try, because it's an inactive kind of Sefirah, to go out and make their own livelihood. So I want to get it as much as possible. You ask a thief, what you doing today? Shh, I'm going to work. You're not going to work. You're cutting the chase by doing quickly money that belongs to other people. So we cannot cut corners over there, and this is the tikkun, the reparation of the Sefirah. The Sefirah is very, very feminine, because in the Hebrew, and feminine's got nothing to do with being a woman. All of us have got 23 sets of chromosomes. Each one has got a set of chromosomes which is feminine, a set of chromosomes which is masculine. A woman has got one more chromosome which is feminine, and a man has got one more chromosome which makes him into a man. But we all have that emotional side, which means let's look at the 4 levels of life. The first level is spiritual. What are you? Ask yourself the following simple, practical question. When you come to this lecture, you want to be on the receiving end of receiving some kind of content, of nourishment to yourself. It's beautiful. And you need to. On the next level, mental, right? You read books and music and all kind of information and knowledge that you earn either through the internet or through university and college, because you want to be on the receiving end. On the emotional level, we all want to be married or have a family or a certain kind of political party, or even if you go and have a soccer team or a football team, because you want to have a sense of belonging, which means I want to belong to something, which is strength, which means I want to be in the receiving and I want to belong. On the physical end, well, I need to sleep, I need to eat, I need to pay my bills, I need to go to work. All this in order to receive. Comes my introduction today and explains this is true but also not true. The real tikkun, the real reparation of this is coming to tell us that we need to turn every table around. We need to receive all this but not stay on the receiving end. We need to receive all this in order to do something of it. When a person gets married and has kids, he can't use this money just for himself. He can't go and gamble it all away. Or buy himself a Bentley with everything that he earns. He needs to give a great sum of his money for his wife, for his children, the other way around as well. We need to be able to receive in order to give. In other words, there's a playoff over here. We need to be able to live a spiritual life and at the same time understand we're living in the spirit, in the physical world, and we need to strike a balance. It's called a lifestyle. It's called balance, not to be afraid of it, but rather use it, not to abuse it. I don't need to shun away from the world and become a monk. I don't need to. And this is not a stable way according to Kabbalah. It's not stable and it's not balanced. The balanced way is to get married, is to have children, is to have physical relationship, is to have emotional relationship. This is not taboo. This is something that we encourage very much, but have it in balance. Don't fall every day in love with somebody else. Don't have too much physical relationship. Don't eat yourself sick, but rather have everything in the right measure. Don't drink too much. Don't become addicted to anything. Shopaholic, workaholic, pornography, drugs, anything else, psychedelics, nothing of that nature. If it's going to drag you down deep into the material, when you become addicted to it, become a slave to that material. Don't do that. Strike a balance. You are stronger than this. Where does this strength come from? This strength comes from your soul. You are given a soul inside you, which is so much bigger than all these ages. And remember, in Kabbalah we know, we call it, we teach it, and we know that any kind of materialism that we see in our life, and we have an urge for, is just an urge. An urge means a person feels an urge to eat right now, they're hungry. It's a physical urge and it's also natural. A person got a physical urge right now for something beautiful that he sees, or something pretty, or something smelling well. It's just an urge. But when people are around, many times we're able to control ourselves from our urges. So the whole point of it is learn to do it also when you are on your own. You don't need the cup to be above your head. And as the legendary NBA coach John Wooden said, a man or a woman is being seen, he's being challenged, he's being tried when he's on his own. Not when you are with people and you are such great, wonderful Mama Teresa. No, when you're on your own, then you know who you really are, how strong you are, or how much you give way to your own urges and inclinations. Anger management, vengeance, revenge, resentment, and all those wonderful things we have today. Wonderful, I'm being cynical, of course. This is the essence of this incredible Sefirah, which is called strength. Strength means empower yourself, understand you have the inner strength, and that strength nobody in the world has. Animals don't have it. Your physical urges and tendencies don't have it. It's because you have a divine soul inside you, you instilled inside you. It's a godly power. You can do it. And God believes in you, so much more. So I will believe in you that you can manage. You can believe in yourself. Don't think you're a small person. You are a divine creation. You are a spiritual being who are having a physical experience in this world. Again, you are a spiritual being who's having a physical experience through this world. Do not let the physical destroy your spiritual. We here temporarily. We're only guests. 20s, 70s, 100s, 120, that's it, done. There's nobody left here from previous generation. Nobody left here from thousands of years ago. The greatest spiritual masters, everyone died, everyone is not here. Because this materialistic world is transient. Now, if you look at this, thank you, Mike, if you look at this tree of life, you'll see on the left, what I'm seeing on my left, the tree of life on the left, and also on the right, the tree of life, it's got a ladder leading to it. There's a straight line leading to it, to Gevurah, which is called Gimel. Gimel in the Hebrew is like G in the English. What do we know? In other words, in the hierarchy of the worlds, That letter Gimel is an incredible spiritual atom which governs everything that happens there. Meaning, first and foremost, if you have this letter in your name, you got inner strength. You got a letter double, right? You call Gigi, right? Some people call Gigi or Lady Gaga. So you got inner strength. You should have built-in inner strength. What do we know about this incredible letter called Gimel, which supervises, governs, and controls everything to do with our inner strength in life? So let's have a look at it in the short time that we have. First and foremost, if you look at it, you see that it's got its leg, so to say its leg, pointing forward, which means it's a very charitable letter. It's a letter which sees the next letter which comes after, which is Dalet. In the Hebrew, it's called Gomel Dalim. Somebody who's able to have the eye to see somebody in need, a poor person, a homeless person, a spouse that needs to be talked to, a child that is crying, that you keep it sensitive to, seeing the other. That's exactly what we're speaking about. The ability to see the other person. And the first time that this letter is mentioned in the Bible is in the word Gedulah, which means greatness. Somebody who's got this letter, right, or you want to master it, even if it's not in your name, you are born for greatness. And each and every one of us is unique and special, and you are born for greatness. Do not let your ages pull you down. Now, the geometrical value of this letter is 3. What does 3 mean? 3 means that's numerology, that's astrology. 3 means you've got the power to create. You're prepared to be young. Doesn't depend on age, depends on your spirit. It's got the power to think out of the box. Open mindset, not closed mindset. And it also means that you've got the power of speech. Speech is the highest form of human communication, of expression. Speech was not formed for me to speak to myself. If I speak either to God or to another human being or to an archangel. A person should not just be able to speak to himself with himself. Now, in geometry, not gematria, but in geometry, 3 points forms a triangle. A triangle is the first kind of protective area that is formed by any points. In other words, 2 points form a line. That's number 2. 1 point just forms a dot. 3 points forms already an area, which means we know that Trinity is the holy thing. In other words, behind the 3 is holiness. Behind the 3 is the ability to formalize and create and solidify and crystallize and create a vessel for others to be included with me. And behind this letter is the letter of giving. We will maybe learn once a workshop in graphology, which I also deal with, and you will realize that the way that you write your G's, from there we can learn in any language, Hebrew, English, and others, how much of a giving person are you. That's a different kind of a secret. And because the reason is because G is that letter, or Gimel in the Hebrew, the letter of giving. And of course it represents in the Hebrew Gevurah, and the Gevurah starts with a G. Right? It's not in vain, it's not random. It is especially directed intentionally in such a way as the way it is created. Now, the same letter doesn't only give to other people. In the Hebrew, it's got also the ability to hold yourself with boundaries, strength of character, to get out of your different kind of addictions or different kind of bad habits or patterns. Meaning, if you know that you fall into bad habits, bad patterns, that nobody knows, that's something that you're very embarrassed of and you won't want to tell anyone or to share with anyone, which is very natural in our day and age, very common, unfortunately. Then, speaking to a certain spiritual leader that knows how to do it, you can definitely add another name, a middle name to your, if you don't have it already, that will have the letter G in it to give you inner strength. In other words, we're translating into something very practical. It's not out on the wall or on the board. If you know that you're falling, if you know you don't have inner strength, you need an extra soul, an extra inner empowerment boost inside you. And we do this by adding another name that will have the first letter as a G. George, or Jane in the Hebrew, J and G is the same letter. There are not two letters over there. It would be great to add a name once you consult with somebody who really understands, because it's got to do with different kind of weights of your name in letters and numbers and the weight of each one. But in general, this is it. This letter allows you to conquer your attributes, to conquer your urges, to be able to hold back. And also, this is a letter for mediation. Yeshur in Hebrew, Geshem means a breach. If you want to mediate, and today, somebody asked me today, we are very argumentative, we very much hold our ground, we very much fixed-minded many times, and we don't want to listen to somebody else. The reason to create peace, which is a great art to be a peacemaker, and to create peace between countries. We see the war that's right now between Ukraine and Russia, and in many places in the world. I spoke to somebody, I think today, who was from Greece. He told me, oh, we've got great war. We used to have Turks for many, many hundreds and thousands of years. The way to create is, first of all, to mediate. And the letter G, or Gimel in the Hebrew, allows us to see the light, to be enlightened and illuminated, to come to mediate between different kind of people. It also creates a gag in Hebrew, which is a protective shield around us to protect everything that we do. Let's just summarize what was said till now, because it's quite a lot, and we started on time, thank God, so I was managed to stay almost everything I wanted and leave you more time for questions. And so Mike have some questions that he's gathered from all of you that he wants to ask first and foremost. We'll give him this honor. The letter Gimel, or the Gevurah, implies inner strength, the ability to see the other and go out of our 4 cubits and become more giving people. Receive, yes, but in order to serve. Not become a slave, to serve others. Not nullifying ourselves, but saving others. The letter Gimel or G, right, has got the ability to rehab us, to get out of our addictions. It's able to make us great people, come to greatness. It serves us to keep our borders. It's a letter that will guard our ability to mediate in order to create peace between people. Many times, one of the greatest things in life is to keep quiet. If you think that you're going to become argumentative, you're going to lose your own home because you want to prove that you are smarter, more right, you might lose your home. So sometimes just lose that battle and keep quiet in order to win the war. And I read one of the spiritual masters. A certain woman came to said, I fight with my husband every night. We nearly go fist fight. Said, look, what don't you like to drink? I said, I don't like to drink vodka. Okay. So when your husband comes next time home, I want you to fill your mouth with vodka. You didn't listen to me, says the woman. I told you I hate vodka. I said, that's what I told you. When your husband comes home next time, when you see him through the window, fill your mouth with vodka. Which she did. And therefore, the minute that the husband walked in, she wanted to scream and shout at him, but she couldn't, because she can't swallow, because she hates vodka. And she can't spit at him because the mouth is full of vodka. She didn't want to tell him. And therefore she kept quiet for the next half an hour. Which kept the peace, and over the next few nights, that peace was kept. So keeping quiet is the great art of not creating wars, not because you're weak, because you're strong. You don't want to state your opinion, you're being smart about it. And therefore you're creating protective shields also around you. So thank you very much to all of you for whatever we shared so far. And I would love to hear you, and obviously starting with Mike, I think you gathered quite a few questions from people, and whatever time we'll learn, because I am time sharing this space where I'm right now, and just at 1 minute to 8, I will become a pumpkin again and Cinderella, and I have to leave here. So, Mike, please go ahead.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say thank you for that amazing lesson. It was very enlightening, and we have, of course, a bunch of people here watching with us on several platforms. Right now I'm going to bring up Facebook. We have a lot of questions right now, although we did have questions from last week, so which a lot of people who are on here right now had asked. But I guess we'll address the questions that are relative to today's lesson first. So Aggie asks, when we were talking about chromosomes, what was the feminine to the masculine percentage?
About chromosomes. So usually each person is born in a way that usually it's 50-50, but we do have one extra man who's got one extra masculine chromosome, and females have got one extra feminine chromosome. But the ratio otherwise is very, very equal, which allows men to be emotional, which allows women to be logical. That allows women to go out to the working world as we see today, and I'm a very big feminist, go out, get the same kind of salary, go to universities and their own titles, their own degrees, and it allows men to spend more time either with children or at home and handle a conversation which has to do with depth, mentality, and as well as emotionalism. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Mike.
Okay. So we had another good question. Actually, this is a really good question that I've often wondered about. I know how I would answer this, and the answer is yes. The question is it the sound or the letter? And I think this is referring to the Hebrew letters, the Gimel, Aleph, Bet, the entire Aleph, Bet. Is it the sound or is it the shape of the letter?
So it's deeper than meets the eye. That is as follows. A study was done recently by two people who wrote the theses, the masters on the subjects, who are actually computer people. They did it overseas in Europe. And they researched different kind of languages and the secret of the letters. Whether it's in English, in the Hebrew, in Chinese, Japanese, etc., German. And they came out understanding that when I state a sound, it creates a certain form on my computer. There's no correlation between the sound which I make and the computer sign that comes out, except for one language. And this is an incredible study. It was revolutionized languages and was published worldwide, except for the original Hebrew. When I say a Gimel, and I state it, and I say it like a meditation, Gimel, or Daled, or Aleph, it actually creates a wave sound which looks exactly in the form of that letter which I'm sharing with you. But if you say it in the English, with all due respect to English or Japanese or any other language, there is no connection between the form or the language, the way that it looks, the letter, and the sound that it makes. Only the original Hebrew. And that's why it's called the sacred holy tongue, because according to Kabbalah, it is the language that God speaks, a language, of course you understand you also in English and in German, but it's the language that he preferred or he chose to speak and give over his messages, as well as the language of archangels and many others. Thank you, Mike. Next.
Okay. I just wanted to make another comment just very quickly. One of the things that you had mentioned previous podclasses, and which anybody who has studied Kabbalah has probably heard of the book the Zohar. And when you use the letters, you were meant to scan them, or when you read Hebrew, you're meant to scan the letters back and forth. So I just wanted to bring up a picture, just a Hebrew alphabet, or alphabet, for everyone to see. And as you can see, they are very different. They do have a very unique shape to them. And if we look, we find... I could just find the letter, And
it is true what you brought out, that each one represents a certain planet or a zodiac sign. Each one's got a certain color, a certain resonance, a certain frequency to it when stated. And the shape as well is very meaningful, as we spoke today about the letter Gimel, which got its left foot from where we're watching, because in the Hebrew you read from right to left, which is facing forward. I want to be able to see the other in order to be kind to them, in order to be giving. In other words, the letter speaking about the tikkun, rectification. I don't want to be only receiving it. I want to receive in order to serve better others, which is incredible. The actual shape of the letter is meaningful as well.
Yeah. So I just wanted to make that comment very quickly. So now to address some of the questions from last week that people had. Okay, so again, people just kept thanking you for sharing your wisdom and your insight. Although we did have one question which we didn't get a chance to get to, which is okay. So the question was, where can somebody find the tree of life? And this is a question that I had to think about myself for a while, because, of course, there are many answers to this question, I suppose, as to what this question is really getting at, the root meaning, which is, where is the tree of life?
Correct. So the answer is, as you said, many-faceted, but in short and in a simple way, it's as follows. So if you read the first few chapters of the book of Genesis, you will come to find exactly where it is. So originally, it was physically located, situated in the middle of the Garden of Eden, and next to it, not far away from it, was also the tree of knowledge of good and evil. If man and Eve, Adam and Eve, would have skipped that first temptation option of the tree of knowledge, good and evil, and would have gotten all the way to the tree of life, they were lived forever. In other words, they were spiritual beings having a physical experience, listening to the word of God at the time, not doing what they were supposed to, would have given them eternal life. In this world, in the next world, so the tree of life is very much there. Today, so we say, okay, the Garden of Eden was somewhere in Babylon, and Babylon has been destroyed many times since. So where is it today? So today, we know, and we have a verse actually hinting to us where it is, and that verse is somewhere in Psalms where it says, Etz Chaim, this is the tree of life for those who hold it, for those who cleave to it. What does it mean? It means that actually the Bible, all that knowledge, all that light went from being in a tree, so to say physically, or the symbolical tree is just a representation of a spiritual world, and it's actually inside the Bible. So when you want real answers, and you want to know what the Word of God, you want to know, to understand directly what does God want from people, we go back to the Bible, we ask their questions, and people that have studied it or they dedicated their lives to it, know to give you answers from it in every aspect of life. And when we look at ourselves, we are a walking tree of life, because our shape, if we look at the tree of life, Mike, of the Sefirot, is exactly not resembling, but it's exactly replica, or our body is a replica. As Job said, from our own flesh do I see God. Our own body is a replica of the exact tree of life. And when we come to these lectures, when we know what we do in each of the Sefirah prisms, and we rectify it, we work with ourselves, we slave away during that following week with what was taught here, then slowly but surely you come to master. Yes, exactly. You come to master your life. So to start with, it looks very complicated. It looks very intimidating. But as we break it down, lecture by lecture, we become friends with it and friendly to it. And you can see over there in the top triangle, you see it actually belongs to your crown chakra, your right and left hemispheres. Then we go down to the Chesed and Gevurah. We're talking about this square, which is from right shoulder, left shoulder, heart, and all the way down to our liver on the right, which is Netzach, and our spleen on the left, which is Hod. And then we go to Yesod, which is the woman, that will be the womb, and the men at the genitals, and Malchut will be the actual going out of the body, where we actually excrete from our body different kind of materials as need be. So that tree of life is built into us. And it's beautiful over there, right? It's the man of Leonardo da Vinci, who apparently also studied Kabbalah, yes, in many, many ways and many forms, and it's all imprinted right on the West. So you don't have to look very far. So if a person got the Bible, he's more than able to connect to a higher source, understanding how to fix it, but it's still very challenging. Kabbalah teaches you exactly what you're in this world for and what's the way to achieve that. When you look at your body, you're able to know where you have your urges, when you have your challenges, where you have strength and weaknesses and vulnerabilities for you to work with till that journey is completed, please God, towards the end of your life. Thank you. Mike, maybe last question, because I'm looking at my watch before I'm being called a pumpkin and taken out of here. Yeah.
Okay, so we actually have two more questions.
Sure.
One of them we actually did answer, or at least begin to answer last time, which was about the 0 point field. Yes. And if I could just bring up the picture really quickly. Here it is. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the picture very quickly. I think we went over this last week. Yes, I think this is from last week's Podclass. And the question was about the center. Is this the 0 point field that you reach in meditation?
The answer is yes.
When you reach
yes. The answer is absolutely yes. That spirit where which is in the center is the 0 point field, which can be achieved through connection to our crown chakra, our crown Sefirah, or to our heart, whichever way a person feels more comfortable. But that meditation, if you do remind me, that's just to be learned how to do, and there are quite a few parameters and conditions how to achieve it. But yes, this is absolutely on the trail of. I ask you all for your forgiveness. I have to unfortunately evacuate this under duress, this room. So please, if you have any more questions, please write into the chat through Mike, or I will give you also my private Gmail, right? Which is that you're able to, more than happy to put privately any certain question. If you want to privately meet, that will also be possible. Thank you very much to all. Today we had a
Thank you, Dr. Gil Tivon. Thank you, everybody who joined us. I know we had a couple of questions that we did not get a chance to address, which we will address next week. Also, remember, if you guys weren't here in the very beginning, we did announce that we are going to start having Monday pod classes. We're going to be having new classes on Tuesdays. My mental health, spirituality, and metaphysics talk podclasses are going to start resuming on Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, United States. And then, of course, Thursdays at 7 p.m. Arizona time or Mountain Standard Time, we have Inner Secrets Revealed Kabbalah class with Dr. Gil. So please stay tuned for more. And remember, every Thursday we have this, enlightening podcast that Dr. Gil Tivon is, gracious enough to bless us with. Okay, so thank you again to everyone for joining us this week. As always, I would like to thank Dr. Gil Tivon again for putting this together, this incredible and very enlightening podcast. And I would like to thank everyone who participated or, asked questions, your comments, or anyone who just sat back and absorbed the knowledge. Or if you're watching this in the replay, if you want to, just leave a comment. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. I will now bring up Dr. Gil Tivon's contact info once again, so everybody can see this in case case you want to reach out to him and do want to have a one-on-one session with him. He does, as you can see here, a whole list of things. Holistic psychology, psychotherapy, hypnotherapy, neuro-linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, business psychology, coaching, couple therapy, healing, mind, body, and soul, Kabbalah. And, of course, he is a book author, and he also omitted, because he is so modest, that he is also a world-renowned lecturer. And, of course, above all things, just a great man and a very wise person who is kind enough to set all of this up for us. So I can't thank him enough, and thank all of you enough, because without you guys this would not be possible. So thanks again. Again, I am Mike Ray with Metaphysical Sciences TV. You can find all these replays and plus more videos on the YouTube channel. Okay, so everybody have a great afternoon, morning, noon, night, whatever time it is. Remember, same time, same place, even more to learn. See you next week. Thanks for joining us, everybody. God bless.